jam. All right, so with some fun technology creativity here, I am so excited to be here with you. Hopefully you can see me live. That was at least the promise. But again, now this is out of my hands and up to the universe and the gods of the technology. Dante is here of Unrelatable to Unstoppable Mastermind. What I was hoping to offer today was a live Q&A session where you can ask any questions and have those questions answered when it comes to, emerging from beneath other people's expectations as a high performer, transforming your life in whatever way is meaningful and important to you. And I was thinking about going over a little bit also just the past 9 classes, all of which you can find either on the newsfeed beneath this video or on the blog or YouTube channel or Facebook, pretty much anywhere where I hang out, that's where you can see the series for Until the Future Notice. But then something interesting happened. You know how sometimes we have all the plans and all the agendas and everything worked out and things happen. So here's an interesting thing. Unrelatable to Unstoppable has been obviously the front and center of my life the past 10 days, and talking about it, talking it through, teaching it, breaking it down into steps and really examining what does that even mean and how do you get to that place where you feel unstoppable really brought me to the layer beneath all of it. And I was aware of its existence. I just didn't have the access to it. And when I say access, I didn't have the access to the energetic blueprint of that layer. I did not have access to the essence of that layer, much less words to articulate. Well, lucky for you, all of that changed not that long ago. So I am excited to take you even deeper. If you have been following the 9 days, this is then 10. If you've been following this and if you have been taking the steps and taking the action, you have probably experienced some shifts in your life as well. And one of those shifts that I had experienced going through it and applying everything just as I teach, no matter where in journey I walk my talk, has brought me into the space of spaciousness. And that is the layer that opened up, after moving through and gaining clarity and moving through and activating courage to go even deeper, to move things around and to keep doing this work. And after doing the work to really expand the capacities, the capacity to receive, spaciousness dropped in. So what the spaciousness actually brings is that sense of limitlessness and sense of being unstoppable. If that doesn't make quite sense, so let me articulate it even better. As I mentioned over this past week, right, a question could be, well, what does unstoppable even mean? As I said before, it's not always this rambunctious, fanfare and red carpet, all positive all the time kind of attitude. Unstoppable truly really means coming home to yourself. And that was the phrase, that was the layer that I couldn't quite access before. It feels like I can finally be myself. Because as high performers, one thing that makes us unrelatable, yes, are our accomplishments, are our decisions, our choices, our priorities, our tolerance for risk-taking, our ability to really make sacrifices, calculated sacrifices to get to where we're intending to go. But what also makes us unrelatable is not in relation to the external environment. It's becoming unrelatable to ourselves. So if you really take a step back and you really lean into all the exercises that you've done, what has all these clarity and courage and capacity actually brought you? It has brought you to a threshold that you can now step across and become more connected with yourself, with your body, with your character, with your wants, with your desires, with your needs. See, if you are an elite performer, high performer, high achiever, any of that, and a mystic, and creative, and the list of descriptions obviously keeps on going on. But one thing that you have probably mastered over the years is the ability to disconnect yourself from whatever is not serving you in a moment. As an athlete, for example, that meant oftentimes disconnecting from myself, disconnecting from my pain, physical, mental, emotional pain, moving through the walls, knocking the walls down. People call it mental toughness. Nothing stops you. And there we go. And that required compartmentalizing and suppressing anything that would possibly come in a way. It served me amazingly well on a basketball court. It served me incredibly well getting my first business iteration off the ground. It also almost killed me. And I'm not saying this lightly. It doesn't sound as fun as I can express it now that I healed from that experience. And in fact, that experience allowed me to reconnect back with myself. So what now makes me unstoppable, it's not some, attitude that you can sense and see from across the street. It's the energy of my presence that is undeniable. It is a reassurance, is this vibratory certainty, vibrational certainty that I play in, that even when things don't go according to the schedule, when technology is not cooperating, when the move is not going on a timeline, it's still standing in knowing that this is my calling, this is how I show up. I don't have to go out there and do and micromanage a ton of things, because that's not my design. I can trust that I'm a facilitator. I can trust that things move through me. I can trust that I'm space holding space. I can trust that things are happening even in stillness, right? So that's what I'm talking about. And that's the sense of being unstoppable. It's almost like a quiet stream of water, right? It's not the waves and the storm and the raging tsunami that crashes everything in front of it. It's that silent stream that slowly but surely makes its way through the surface to where it's supposed to go. Inch by inch, keeps on digging and going and moving forward. So that's that essence that has emerged on my end. When I talk about spaciousness, another thing that has emerged on my end was, for the first time in a very long time, my own kids were like half the world away. So that's a whole different dynamic. And it made me realize how much I missed that space. Because as a high accomplished person, I thrive on the adrenaline. I thrive on deadlines. I thrive on piecing the pieces together when it's like, okay, I have this amount of chronological time. There's a distraction coming from, this is possibly a hard stop, and there's another distraction. Let me figure out how to maneuver this thing and get everything done. By the way, you and I possibly get more done in a day than most people in a week, right? It's just a fact. But how much more would it be possible if we allowed ourselves a different environment, a different routine, a different dynamic, different attitude around it all? So it's not so hardcore KPI driven, then it is our own sense of fulfillment, right? So that's a whole yet another layer in this whole conversation. So I hope this makes sense. I just felt I really needed to clarify this feeling and experience of being unstoppable, unrelatable to unstoppable. So now, if you don't mind, for some reason, I'm checking here and it doesn't seem like the technology is cooperating. I don't see anybody in here. So what I think I'm going to do is simply go through some commonly asked questions. Yeah, it's not cooperating. Oh, well, it happens. We'll make the best out of it. When life throws lemons at you, you make some awesome lemon meringue, right? Or lemonade, whatever you prefer. Okay, so as I mentioned in the 9-part series thus far, the framework of unrelatable to unstoppable bases on the mastermind. So I want to take a moment and really walk you through what the mastermind even is, and if you are considering it, like why you, why now, why this whole thing in the ocean of possibilities, to stay on the topic, right? So one of the things that I could say to you is like, well, if not now, when? If not you, who? But the thing is, you have the answers, I don't. There are definitely a lot of places and spaces out there that will welcome you, that you might feel compelled to check out and join, from courses to programs to different masterminds, whatever. I personally am not interested, nor am I invested in comparing any of them with unrelatable to unstoppable. It's like comparing apples to oranges, because it's not just the format of the mastermind, it's not just the content of the mastermind, it's the actual dynamic that gets to be co-created with each individual, and no one can create the dynamic that you're going to be playing in under my guidance but me. Okay. I'm also not interested in convincing and persuading. So that means that I trust you. I trust that if this calls you, I trust if you feel that this is the place to be, you will make the choice and you will figure out a way to get in, and you will raise your hand, you will send me an email, you will send in an application, whatever it is. I also know that there is such thing as divine timing. So again, I'm not here to manipulate you with any of those tactics. They don't work. Not for intended purposes of this mastermind, because what really is the key here is creating a safe harbor where you want to be in. Now, full disclosure, as we're going to be doing this work, there are going to be days when you will not want to be here. There are going to be days when you will not want to do any of those things, when you will look for ways out, and I get that. Everybody has those days. But generally speaking, if I were to deploy any of those manipulative tactics, play psychology tricks and stuff like that, I mean, really how much you really want to be here and how much you felt guilted into or persuaded or baited, right? So again, we're two adults, we're two highly accomplished women, decisive ones. We know what we want and we go for it and after it. All I can say is there's 5 spaces available, first come, first serve basis, and that's all there is to say to it. All right. Second question that often comes up is, how much time should I set aside for this mastermind on a weekly basis? I love this question because we all are busy. You already know by now, I have little ones. I am embarking on a cross-continental move, and I'm also hosting a podcast. I'm writing and I'm doing all sorts of fun stuff, yet I never consider myself busy or running short on time. Somehow I have this gift that time is always in my corner, chronological time, that is. So when it comes to setting aside chronological time for this mastermind on a weekly basis, I will offer you the same answer. There are going to be times when you will be more invested, meaning calls every other week. Live calls can go anywhere from 1 hour to 3 hours. We won't know until we get on them. And sometimes you will feel like you want to skip it so that you can get integration time, which, by the way, is already factored in. And there are times when it's going to be a little bit more intense. There's going to be times when you will prioritize this work over everything because nothing can get done or nothing can be accessed until you do this work, and you will know when you get there. So there's going to be times again when it's going to be hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, there's going to a week, sometimes per month, sometimes per day, and we'll just navigate accordingly. The thing is, you are not going to be alone. It's an open can't even say it. Open conversation, open communication. That is it. There you go. Open communication. And then it's a partnership. So we'll just go from there. Sounds fair? All right. Next question. What are some of the results that you can expect? Now, that's always a good question and a fair game. And the answer is going to surprise you. I don't know. Now, the mastermind itself, you have a choice between a 3 or 9 month course. 3-month course offers you 1 bonus month for integration. 9-month course offers you 3 extra months for integration, which means we go kind of, I'll actually get to that later in another question. But as the results go, here is the deal. We can have all the best intentions. We don't know where you are going to be once you enter, how open, ready, and available you're going to be to move through things, to dissolve things. Maybe this is the stepping stone to your quantum leap. Maybe this is the space where you can finally drop the anchors and just take a breather and just relax and enjoy timelessness and limitlessness and spaciousness for as long as you need to replenish, recalibrate, whatever. We won't know. What I can offer is I can give you some insights into what my clients have experienced and created and accomplished during our time together. I'm not going to be reading through all of those case studies or testimonials right now. They are all available on my website, makeyourlifeyourlegacy.com. They're also available on the actual site with Mastermind, which is makeyourlifeyourlegacy.com/mastermind. But generally speaking, my clients would report that they finally feel alive again. They finally reconnected with their intimate partners on a whole different way now that they can actually understand who they themselves are and how they operate. They would come to a point of 20 plus years of thinking about making a move to finally packing up their homes and moving across the country. I've had actually several clients do that in addition to my own life. We are creating more simplicity and harmony, and in some ways that can look like figuring out how to redesign your business offers so that you minimize the administrative friction points and collection friction points and time spent on the delivery when it can be a lot simpler and easier. Maybe that's changing your pricing so that you can earn in a month what you had earned a year before in the whole year. We have done that too with the clients, but this is not my priority anymore. It's more of a byproduct. I've done this work a couple of years ago. It was a flagship program. We have evolved from there, but it's still one of the stepping stones that I will help you when you get to it, if you get to it. Making more positive impact, ability to change the seating instead of spending hours and hours and hours in a boardroom. My clients were able to spend a lot more time on airplanes and in vacation. On a beach chair, for example, vacations that were way overdue for their families. And instead of taking one every so often, it was like taking a vacation every couple of months. We have done that as well. So the results, again, anything is possible when you figure out and get to the point of stop playing the game that somebody else has lined out, but you really start showing up and playing your own. And that's essentially what this is. And things that maybe you've experienced, they used to work, but they no longer do. And you're pulling out the hair and the weeks go by and the months go by and you're still kind of spinning in a circle. Maybe that's what that floodgate is, finally realizing that, hey, I was fulfilling somebody else's expectations. I was trying to squeeze myself in somebody else's vision, or just making a simple shift. One of my shifts, for example, doing this work over and over and over again, was reevaluating what my true gifts and values are. As a former high performer, I can totally go down and talk to you about productivity hacks and color coding schedules and meal prep and all sorts of things, even though I don't do meal prep, so that would be kind of out of integrity. I don't quite do color coding schedule. Like I said, I have a very simple relations with time and chronological time. But that's what I can teach you. I can teach you that timelessness and limitlessness and spaciousness that transcends the typical time management and lifestyle hacks, right? When you have tried all of that and things still are not working, we can do that. So again, that was one of my big shifts from higher, faster, stronger, whatever, keep on pushing, let's collapse timelines so you can do more. Like, actually, you know what? Let's change this whole paradigm. Let's revolutionize this approach. And that's the safe harbor that we have here. All right, next question. How frequent are the calls? Oh, this is a simple one. Live Q&A calls are designed to go every 2 weeks. That gives you time for integration in between. We also know that you're super busy and this might not be something that you have to actually have me on a call every week. However, depending on the offer that you choose, you do get personal one-on-one calls with me on a monthly basis if you're in the 9-month program. If you choose 3-month option, you get one-on-one call with me. In the big one, you also get Voxer access, for like a SOS speed dial, I like to call it, because let's face it, sometimes all you need is just Voxer something and you hear yourself talk it through. Sometimes you just need a quick feedback that might not be concerning of everybody in the group, but there's just this very intimate thing. Because here's another thing that I want to put on a there, post it. I am very well aware that there are going to be topics that, even though this is intimate space, safe harbor, there are going to be topics that you will not feel comfortable saying in front of other people. I've been there too. I know that no matter how successful we all are, no matter who are our peers or girlfriends or spouses, there are certain things that just go unsaid. And I do want to make sure that you never have to choose what to ask and what to share just because you're afraid of feedback or judgment or whatever that perception might be. So I do want to create that safe space for you. And if it means opening up one-on-one as opposed to entire group, it's offered to you, okay? And then another dynamic that I briefly mentioned earlier, now we're finally getting to it. I mentioned trimesters. Right. So the way that the year is structured on my end, this mastermind goes live in January. And then the way I'm structuring my life and how this plays in is, even if you're joining later on, you're still going to receive 12 months. But every third month on my end, after every trimester, I'm taking a break to recalibrate, which means April, August, and December, there's no live calls. There's still access to me for one-on-one if needed. But just so that you can plan, let's say if you start in January, we're going January, February, March, then we're taking April off, May, June, July, we're taking August off, September, October, November, and we're taking December off. And then you can choose if you want to rejoin and continue actually in January the following year. So this is how the frequency and the flow is scheduled. How long will the calls be? I think I mentioned it before. It can be an hour, it can be 3 hours. I've been on mastermind calls with some of my groups that went way beyond 4 hours, and we hung up onto every single moment because there were just so value in there and we learned so much from each other. And I've been on calls when you have one question, that's all you need to hear, and you're done and off you go, because you don't need to concern yourself with what somebody else might ask because you already got exactly what you needed. Or somebody asks a question that actually answers yours and you don't have to ask it, and off you go. So it's very dynamic. And yes, all the calls are going to be recorded, and the recording will be available in the private space that will be available for you. What happens if I can't attend live calls? Well, like I said, the calls are going to be recorded. And the thing is that life does happen. We all have commitments and priorities and things to deal with. So I do understand if you can't make a call. However, if it comes to my attention and it becomes a recurring thing, when you're just simply not prioritizing yourself and showing up, then we're just gonna have a conversation and we'll figure out what is actually going on. Because the last thing I want to happen is that you are in a space that you are not utilizing, but somebody else now can't access because the spaces are limited to 5 people. So there's that. Okay, sounds good, sounds fair. Next question. I'm already so busy and I just don't have time for one more thing on my schedule. And I totally get that, which is why this is going to be very similar answer to that meme that's been circulating. I don't know if you saw it, when it says something along the lines of, how long should I meditate? And the answer is, I don't know, 20 minutes a day. Unless you're super busy, then make it 2 hours. You see, the thing is that you know your schedule, you know your capacity, you know your priorities. And it all just boils down to priorities. How are you prioritizing your time? How are you prioritizing your commitments, your engagement, where your attention goes? I can easily say, well, if you put your phone down and spend less time scrolling through the newsfeed on social media, chances are you're saving 2 hours a day at least. At least that's been my experience when I put a timer on and deleted certain apps from my phone. 2 hours, all of a sudden, back to my schedule. Phew. Now, the intention of this space here is, again, not to add things on your plate, because busyness at the end of the day is a symptom of something that's underlying, which is something that we are going to be identifying and dissolving. But the intention here is to give you the time and the space where you feel heard and seen and supported and energized. It gives you, it fuels you, if that makes sense. It's almost as to say, well, my car's gas tank is empty and I don't have the time to go fill up the gas, but I need to run errands, I need to get to work, I need to get here and I need to get there. Yeah, you might have a problem, right? You will find the time to go put the gas in your car because you have other things to tend to. Same here. Busy is a symptom, oftentimes a byproduct of deep conditioning, that our worthiness and our deserving to be in places and spaces is correlated to hardcore KPIs, and the more that we give and the more that we do, the more deserving we are. And one day you wake up and you're figuring out that you have been trying to pour out of a cup that hasn't been filled in a long time. Besides, maybe chances are that you are so busy running in circles because you are on a completely wrong track in the first place, which again, without doing this work, you wouldn't even realize. All you keep doing is spinning in circles. Another analogy that I can use, if that helps with the description, is, let's say you are a basketball player and you know when you show up for basketball practice, you make progress. All of a sudden, everything stalls, you can't do anything, but then you realize you have been practicing with gymnasts, you've been trying to do flips. Of course they don't work. Of course you're not getting to where you want to be. Making flips in the middle of the air doesn't change a score on the scoreboard of a basketball game, does it? That's what we're talking about here. That's the work that we're doing here. If you're trying to do things in ways that are not aligned, that are out of your integrity, that are out of the base design, yeah, there's a problem. Of course you're busy. So I hope that explains things. Next question, shall we? Will I be required to do assignments and submit homework? It depends. You know, it's not a school. The attendance is not going to be counted. The homework is probably not going to be collected. And I'm not going to treat you as a student, grading you from A to D or F. However, if you and I determine there's going to be some things that will benefit you if you roll up your sleeves and get things done to create a desired outcome, or when you're on a cusp of a breakthrough or things are just not working out, but you can't pinpoint it, then yeah, look, I'm going to ask you to write things down. I'm going to ask you to show me your work. I'm going to ask you and hold you accountable for doing the work. And I'm also going to help you move along the way. At the end of the day, whether that's on paper, something to be submitted, or that's something for you to know, I am responsible to you, but I'm not responsible for you or for your results. Does that make sense? So if getting to where you want to be requires on your end that you see the progress, that you see the work, then definitely that's one thing. But from my end, just so that I can say, okay, I believe you that you've done the work, I'm going to see whether or not you're doing the work without seeing the pieces of paper. All right. What happens if I get the desired results before the year is up? Congratulations. Let's celebrate that. I mean it. That's the massive, massive challenge when you're a high achiever, when you're a lead performer. Celebration. More often than not, you just brush the huge accomplishment aside because you're already focused on 5 steps ahead of the game. So if you get to where you initially thought you wanted to go, let's soak it in. And then we're going to look into the next thing, because this is one of the things that never ends. I hate to disappoint you, but this is a journey. It's an upward spiral. It never ends. You get to a new level, you will meet a new devil you'll have to work through and work with. Oftentimes, you know, I'm talking with my clients and they're like, well, didn't we just talk about confidence and clarity like 3 years ago? I'm like, yeah, we did. And where are you now? And they really let it sink in, and then they leaned back and closed their eyes. And one of the images that really resonated was, you know, it's almost like walking up a tower. At first, all you can see is tree trunks right in front of you, and you get up the staircase and you get to the first window, and now you're in the treetops, and you keep on going up, and now you can see beyond the treetops, and there's some hills beyond that, and you keep on going, and now the trees are super tiny beneath you, the hills on the horizon are there, but so are the mountains. And now as you keep on going, now you can see the ocean behind the mountains, and then eventually you can also see the curve of the, exaggerating a little bit, but that's how it is. And you can also see, the tree that was standing in front of you, blocking your view, preoccupying you before. Now you have a very different perspective of it. You have a very different understanding of it. So personal development, business development, lifestyle architecture, business design, career advancement, parenting, building relationships, strengthening your marriage, even finding a partner, or whatever is in your fill in the blank, that is going to be an ongoing work, especially when it comes to things that really are deeply connected to who you are as a person. So if that means, let's say, another analogy from the top of my head. When my husband and I first got engaged, I remember everybody asking me about the wedding day, like, what's the shade of the flowers? What's the shape of the dress? And I'm like, I don't know, I couldn't care less. But then it kind of became the center of my life, even though I resented that happening. But I remember not one person has asked me or my husband, what do you envision your life together to look like? What do you wish to experience together? What would you like to create together? Everybody was talking about the wedding, but the marriage itself. And even then, I had a friend who and her fiance attended, I don't know how that is called within organized religion, when you go in and you talk to a priest, a pastor, or whoever that is, and you're building and envisioning the future. And I was like, who I was when we got married was a very different person from where I am now. I had very different priorities than I have now. And I have done tremendous amount of work, and the work will continue. And I have accomplished all the things that used to be important to me back then. And I still have a laundry list of things that are equally, if not more important to me now. And I'm pretty sure once I become the person who accomplishes those things, there's going to be another set of items on a brand new list that are going to be even more important. Okay, so this is the thing. If you accomplish this one thing that you wanted, awesome. If this is all you came here to get, amazing. If you want more, we're here. Sounds fair? All right, we have a couple of more to go, and then we're going to be wrapping this up. Where will celebration in-person retreat take place, and how long is it going to be? Oh yes, have I mentioned a part of the 9-month, actually 9 + 3 months engagement gets you a seat in the celebration destination retreat. Most likely, it will take place in my hometown, medieval town in Slovenia. Chances are also that we will vote for it to be in New York, or you know what, anywhere else. We'll find out, we'll figure it out together. You will be given plenty of notice to figure out all the details, from travel to accommodation. They are, by the way, not included in the investment, but will be help you to assist every step of the way. Multi-day event, we're currently looking at 3 to 4 day, somewhere along the line. So again, all of that will be announced and shared with you way ahead of the time. But it is definitely something I'm really looking forward to. because to be honest, it was this idea of sharing a space, a physical space, coming together. I have this vision of a huge sectional, all of us just lounging there and just having an amazing time, sharing the energy, sharing the perspective, sharing the ideas. And yes, there's some obviously work that I do to facilitate, but more than that is the chemistry, it's the magic that happens as we co-create this whole thing together. And it's cozy and it's luxury at the same time, and it's just amazing. So that's the vision that I'm holding for it. Let's make it happen, right? What types of tools and trainings can I expect, and how can I access them? There is going to be a private portal, and you'll be granted unlimited access for the amount of time that you spend here in the as part of the mastermind. There's curated teachings, lessons, trainings, and tool and topics will vary. There's some that are already pre-existing, some that I have created years ago, some that are updated, some that I will be creating as needed when the need arises. So whatever is that you need, I will do my very best to offer and to provide. And besides that, there's also guest experts that are going to be coming in, and they will bring their own set of tools and make them available to you as well. So is there a start date? Yes, we officially kick off in January. The doors will remain open on the rolling enrollment basis. And again, spaces are limited to 5. When we reach 5, I will reevaluate if I start creating a new cohort or just create a waiting list. With 3 months of gifted integration time, we're looking for about a year-long cycle. So just to keep that in mind, if this is something that you're thinking about and you're not quite sure, and you're like, I don't know, chances are you might have to then wait at least another year before you can enroll again. So keep that in mind as you're making the decisions and prioritizing yourself and your future. All right, I would love to say yes, but my partner is skeptical. I totally get it, and I was so grateful to receive this question because I totally get that. I totally get it on a very personal level. I could definitely tell you to just, put on the big girl boots on and make the decision on your own. And I could guilt you into all the sales tactics of, well, are you the one who makes decisions, or who's the CEO of the company? And God forgive me, I have done that in the past and it felt shitty. So I don't do that anymore. What I can offer is there's a little insight that I share on the page itself under that specific question, frequently asked question on the mastermind page, makeyourlifelegacy.com/mastermind. If you scroll down to frequently asked questions, this specific question is listed, and I walk you through a possible approach. But what I also offer is that we can get on a 3-way call, because at the end of the day, this is going to be a team effort. When you're going to be transforming your life, you are going to be transforming your home, your partnership, and it will affect your partner 100%. And along the way, it's going to be a lot easier process if your partner is on board and they are supporting you in the way that they can best support you, and we can sort it out what it gets to look like together. And I can answer all the questions that they might have, all the concerns that they might have. Chances are a conversation will also revolve around monetary investment. And there is such thing as sliding scale pricing. There are, I think, a certain percentage of spaces is available for that if you qualify. So that's another layer in here. All right. Next question. Do you offer refunds if I don't like this or if I don't get desired result? Ready for the answer? Answer is no. Full stop, period. That's it. Next, should I join if I already am working with a coach? Again, I'm not here to tell you what you should do. All I can say is that all coaching is not the same. Even therapy, some of my clients have therapists when we start working together. Some of my clients already had 1 to 3 coaches when they signed up to work with me, and collectively we made tremendous progress. What I can offer is to reframe this question and think about it as having a medical expert. You're a woman. Chances are you have your primary care provider, right? Chances are you have an OBGYN and a dentist, maybe a dermatologist, endocrinologist, cardiologist, all of that very highly specialized in whatever area that is. I don't necessarily consider myself a specialist in one area, more like one of the unicorns who understands very deeply these specific areas and has the gift to correlate every single thing and understands the structures and systems and the frameworks and sequencing and strategies behind it all. So kind of not the, helping you put all the pieces of the puzzle together. So if you feel that there's value in being a part of this community, because let's face it, there is value in working with me as your mentor, as a coach, of being a part of the mastermind for learning. But the whole new value, whole other layer that we didn't even discuss here is networking itself. And it's opportunities that open up when you're in a room with equally remarkable people who themselves have access to their own networks and can be the gatekeepers to the possibilities that you've been calling in. And that in itself is incredibly valuable too. Now, if you have other questions, please let me know. You can email me directly. You can send me a message on social media. You can get in touch via website. There's so many ways to get your question answered. I'm here to support you. And this really brings to a conclusion our Q&A session and the 10-day Unrelatable to Unstoppable Masterclass series. It has been an absolutely joy and privilege, and I want to say thank you. Thank you for choosing to share your time and energy with me. I hope the framework that I shared with you serves you, and that you feel called to raise your hand and take a step up, and that we can discuss how whether or not we actually are a fit, and hopefully see you on the inside. Take care.